So guys, again, going back to another one of my anime reviews is my next Yu-Gi-Oh! Series review, Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. I got into this series back around August last year because my local Forbidden Planet was having a sale on DVDs one day, and they had all 3 seasons of the show there for £5 each. So I got them there and was really happy since it meant I could start the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, and this is the last Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that was ever brought over here on DVD, which means that Yu-Gi-Oh! Art 5 was only sold in America, and I'm in the middle of getting all of them right now from America. Anyway, going back to this was the series I hadn't heard a lot about before getting into it. It's like what I said for Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D. I hadn't really heard anything about it beforehand. I mean, I usually hear tiny things like how every series after the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Has never been received positively. I know there are definitely fans of them out there, and I guess the main Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans like that, I mean, but they're generally not well liked by the general public. But seeing as I've been a fan of this series long before I even knew what they really were, I do generally try to watch them and enjoy them for what they are, and I do generally enjoy them and get my own form of enjoyment from them. And so, in the end, well, this is probably my least favorite of all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series so far. I honestly did really like this. That's not to say it's perfect, I mean, not even close, but I did end this series really satisfied and happy with how things played out. There are definitely some really stupid moments and things that are pretty cringy, but I felt like that to be expected with some elements of this franchise. And when I looked past a lot of those, I still ended up liking this series a lot. I actually finished it a few months ago, but it's only taken me until now to do my review of it. Anyway, let's get into it. And like always, I'll be talking about the entire series with spoilers, so if you don't want anything spoiled, go watch it, then come back here. Okay, so the basic plot of this series is that the main character this time is a 13-year-old boy named Yuma Tsutomu, who lives with his grandmother and his sister named Tori. He goes to a duel with his friends Tori Meadows and Braun Jones. He also has a key called the Emperor's key around his neck that his parents gave him. His parents are also missing and he misses them. He's also generally really bad at duel monsters, but still hopes to be a duel champion. But one day he discovers a creature inside the Emperor's key named Astro, who's a dueling spirit. He helps Yuma duel and they discover the existence of special cards called number cards, of which there's 100 of them, and they hold Astro's memory because he's forgotten exactly what he is. So they decide to search for the rest of them, even if Yuma just started off begrudgingly, since he mostly just wants to be left alone from Astro and doesn't want to have anything to do with him, but he does eventually decide to do it, all while others are after the number cards from So I guess I'll start off with so I guess I should probably start off with some things I didn't like at the start. I guess out of the 4 series I've watched so far, this one probably starts off the weakest. There is a show set at the beginning of the series, and we are showing some interesting things, but for the most part, a good amount of the early episodes was just the same thing happening with Yuma getting into a duo kind of hockey and thinking he could do it without needing any assistance, but needing Astro's help to duo and then retrieving a number card from his opponent. It wasn't terrible, but it did kind of start to wear a bit thin after a while. I guess you could say something similar about the other series as well. They just kind of have a formula of something happening leading to a duo between characters, but this one probably did it the weakest out of them at the beginning, and there were some episodes that were just cringy and I didn't like at all, like the Barrow episode. That was just really stupid. Another thing that kind of bothered me were some of the characters. I didn't hate them, but a couple of them were kind of annoying, mainly Yuma himself. He's definitely my least favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist so far that I've seen so far. He was kind of annoying at the start, and the whole thing with him needing to get help from Astro every once in a while. That repetitive for a while. There were some characters I did really like Tori and Shark. He was pretty cool after a while, but those first few episodes were kind of something I was having on in the background for a little bit. However, once the whole World Duo Carnival was introduced, I thought things were picking up a bit more. The biggest of which is that we're introduced to a new character named Hyde, the guy who's around Yuma, who's also out of a number card because he believes they can help him. They hope that he can help in his younger brother Hart. And I think Hyde was probably my favorite character in the series next to Tori and Shark. I think he's the best written, and they do a good job with him. He's also a prodigy duelist, and is working for someone named Mr. Heartland and Dr. Faith, who's actually his dad. And there's also another group after them that Shark knows who are participating for the Santa Win themselves, named Trey, Quinn, and Quattro, along with their dad named Zexal, who knew Yuma's dad, Yuma, and like the others, they want the number card for themselves. And it was around this time I started getting into the series more, and I began to like Yuma more. Even though I found him annoying in this series and at other points throughout the series, I did start liking him more around this time. And something I really liked about him was his involvement with Height and Heart, because he eventually learned about their predicament and decided to help them, even though Height doesn't want any help. And I like how Yuma and the others become closer to Heart, and he looked to them more as friends. It's not only that, but Shark also began to lighten up more and help them, even though he's mainly looking for revenge on Quattro, who he was supposed to do before the championship, but he set him up to make it look like he was seasoned to death and disqualified fight. So he's helping, so he's trying to get after him. And we also learn that Shark has a sister named Rio who's been hospitalized for a long time and he wants to help her. That part actually reminded me of Joey and Serenity in the original series. Anyway, so we get to the event, we do eventually get to the tournament, and I really like this segment. Hey, wow, I think it had a lot of cool moments, like when Yuma begins to progress through it, and he begins to do them really well, and he does really well in some duos by himself a few times, and we see other duos taking place as well, like Vector taking, like we see Vector taking down a lot of them as well, and get his number hard for himself. And I like when Yuma gets serious about stopping him. That's what I did really like about Yuma, when he actually did focus on the situation and did the right thing. And I should also mention that how I do like Yuma as a character, just initially from other small moments in the series. He was a bit annoying, but I did still like him a lot overall. I know I'm probably in a minority about this, but anyway, so we get to the final round where Yuma and Afro go up against Shark and Height versus Vector, and we see Height take on Vector, but he loses, and so it's just Yuma and Vector in the finals, and I can't remember when it was introduced, but at some point, Yuma gets a transformation with Afro when they merge together into a form called Zexal. And it pretty much looks exactly like Super Saiyan Goku. It's beyond unmistakable to see that he looks like Super Saiyan Goku with the first transformation. It was kind of distracting, and what made it even more obvious was that he had two more forms called Zexal 2 and 3, just like Super Saiyan 2 and 1, 2, and 3. So that was pretty weird. But eventually Yuma does win and is actually able to turn Vector back to normal to what he was before, and he manages to turn Dr. Faker good again, which actually helps Titan Heart out a lot as well, and this saved Height too, because we learn that Mr. Heartland was trying to destroy Afro World, as in where Afro is from, and they're trying to stop them along with that and more number cards, and it was cool to see Yuma, Shark, and Height team up against Faker. So the whole World Duo Carnival thing was something I really enjoyed. It had its undeniably stupid moments, sure, but I still found myself liking it, especially at the end. I like how different characters were making connections, like Height slowly accepting Yuma, Tori, and the other day friends, and Heart almost kinda doing that immediately, and other small ones like that. And I like the duo themselves, mainly the final one with Yuma and Afro versus Vector, and Yuma, Shark, and Height versus Dr. Faker, and that was cool. And just overall, I just really did like this part. And then this leads to the next part with having to deal with the side of the barbarians, the creatures who live in another world called the barbarian world, who are after the number hard to destroy Afro worlds, and but who worlds are at odds with each other. And from the beginning, we're only introduced to a few of the emperors there, but we're being told of some other one named Nash, who's supposed to be the leader of them all. But for the most part, we watch some of the emperors pretend to be humans and be human friends while they were also trying to set him up to get his numbers by using something called Barian Field Belt to make sure he duels. And these kinds of episodes, while they do push the stories forward in a way, do kind of make the show feel slow because the same routine of just doing and stopping them until more things are revealed, like when Yuma, Tori, Afro, Shark, and Rio go somewhere to learn more about what's going on, and we're shown more about Shark himself. And this whole part is something I'm a little confused about. I'm not sure if I missed something or if it was kind of confusing already, but we learned that Shark is actually from some ancient time and was a king of a whole kingdom, and all the other barbarians were actually his servants, and Rio was his sister from then too. I think that's right anyway. And again, I didn't really get it, but it's close enough, I suppose. And yeah, then towards the end, we see Shark is actually the barbarian named Nash, who I mentioned a while back. And this is after we learned Shark didn't remember anything and was surprised to find out too until he eventually remembered. And I'm not gonna lie, I really do love the ending. I probably skipped over a few things, but I did really like the ending when Afro gets taken from the heat to Afro world, and so Yuma is left depressed for a while his friends try to help him out. I didn't mention it earlier, but Yuma also made some other friends in duo at the beginning along with Tori and Braun, but also Haswell have been flipped. I wouldn't say they're necessarily all that important aside from Tori because she's around Yuma almost all the time, but they do have their own significance in the story, especially a little bit later. But anyway, they try to help him out, and Yuma eventually does manage to get to Afro World, and even hears from his dad as well, who's actually there too, and he does manage to save Afro and the other people in Afro World ask them to save them from barbarians who begin to launch an attack on Earth. So Yuma and Afro manage to get back, but when they do, they find out that Shark and the other find Shark and the other barbarians and realize he's the leader. And although some may find some parts of it weird, I personally loved it. I loved the way the story was progressing, and it was being told, and I just liked the way it was being told. I was personally really invested, and I was having a really great time watching this. And this leads to a really cool scene, in my opinion, where Yuma gets knocked out, and so some of the others have to help him, and some even stay behind to duel some of the barriers, and we see the return of some characters back from earlier in the show, like Trey, Watro, and Quinn, and returning, who are good now, along with Nitro and Zexal who were characters that were introduced around the time of the carnival and were originally against Yuma until they joined up with him. And we also he wrote the Julian master that Yuma met earlier. And I absolutely love each of them fighting one of the barriers along with Hype while Yuma recovered. I'm not gonna lie, that whole sequence with that happening was something I found really exciting. I know I'm probably the only person who would ever admit or even think that, but it's true. I really did have a lot of fun during this scene and having some older characters come back with who the see. And Barrett was who too, just seeing as the world is in danger of being destroyed by barbarians, so Yuma asked Ro and Tori how his over had stopped it while there they encountered another main villain there named John Thousand, this humanoid looking guy who trying to destroy the Earth and Astro world. So Yuma and Nash tried to stop him because he's also partly the reason why the other Barriers are gone. At that moment, so many of their friends were beaten, and so they had to stop him to save both worlds and save everyone. And no, John Thousand isn't anything great at all or really good at all, but the duel with Yuma and Nash taking him on was pretty cool. And afterwards, Nash challenges Yuma to one more duel to really fulfill it, and Yuma does eventually manage to beat him. The whole part, well, I guess I think the momentum of the excitement from before was gone a little bit because I like the traveling part where they were doing that, and so it was brought down a little bit, but I did still like that part, and it was nice to see everyone turning back to normal as well. But then, as soon as Yuma and Astro get all the number cards, Astro decided to use them to destroy Barrier World. But because Yuma has made peace with them and is friends with them, he doesn't want that to happen, so he challenges Astro to a duel to stop him. This part reminded me of when Yuji hooked on at him, though not in the best of ways, because I'm not gonna lie, while the duel does show how far Yuma has come as a duelist, this final duel with them is really weird. Even by Yu-Gi-Oh! Standards, it's really weird. I know these duels are generally pretty weird, but this one really pushes that weirdness, because while Yuma does make some clever moves, the ending just gets really absurd, and when he starts pulling out, when he starts pulling out cards that honestly are kinda nonsensical. I know duels before have had weird laws like that where they somehow always get the exact card they need at any moment about 99% of the time, but here, not only does Yuma get the card he needs every single time, but he also just somehow has cards that look like him and somehow do exactly what he needs. Again, I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels before have done weird things like that, but have done things that are kind of weird and similar to that, but this one just made that weird, like way too weird and went overboard with the absurdity. Though, even with that final duel, I still absolutely loved the ending. After Yuma beat Astro, he sent away back to Astro World, and everyone's back to normal and more. Like Yuma's parents are brought back, Barbarian emperors are human again, and are friends with them. Yuma, Titan, hard her death in a long fun, and even though Afro's gone, they're able to go to the Afro world to help him occasionally, and they're able to help him with whatever he needs, and the series ends with that, with Yuma, Tori, Tight Shark and the other Barian heading to Astro World to help him with some new things. I am not gonna lie about that. I absolutely love this ending where everyone just kind of gets a happy ending like that, and they just kind of help him out. And we even get a nice moment where Tori even admits to Yuma that he loves him. I actually did really like that, but I guess overall this review may have been kinda all over the place, but I felt this was the only way I could really talk about this the way I wanted to. So, yeah, really guys, despite the problems I had with this, I personally had a really great time with this. Yeah, it had tons of things wrong with this and a ton of dumb moments, but I do admit a good amount of why I liked this was due to my personal taste and my enjoyment of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise already. But I can't lie that I did really enjoy this, and I'm really happy I got into it. And something that definitely helped with that was that this was the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Series since the original that I could watch from start to finish with the dub. I have the entire series from start to finish, and the whole thing was dubbed to a completion. So unlike something like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX or 5G, I was able to watch this entire series, so that was definitely refreshing. Speaking of the dub, it was mostly really good. I'd say my favorites were Christopher Plummer, a Eileen Stevens, a Tori, Gary, Matt, a Shark, and Mark Thompson, a Astro. They were definitely my favorite, but the rest of them do good for the most part too. The only one I might have an issue with is Ellie James as Yuma himself. He wasn't bad, and in terms of that and his emotions down, he did a good job. It's just his voice sometimes was a bit annoying. It's kind of a weird thing where in the first episode, his voice sounded completely different to what it became later on. Maybe they asked him to change his voice after the first episode because he sounded higher pitched after that first one. But yeah, sometimes, especially in moments where I thought Yuma was being kind of annoying, that didn't help all that much. But I did still mostly like him, and I did still mostly like Yuma as a character. And again, I did still like a lot of the other characters to different degrees as well. Hype was still my favorite, like I mentioned, and I still think he was the best written. But others like Shark, Tori, and Astro were also my favorite. Speaking of Tori, this might actually have my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Romance in it. No, it's not necessarily the main focus, but it is implied a lot throughout the series, and I did really like Yuma and Tori together a lot of the time, and so that was really nice, and I like the ending of that as well. But just in terms of other things, I really like the dual carnival, like I mentioned, the whole chase through the city at the end, and how everything gets to that point, I just really loved that, and I had a lot of fun watching those scenes. And I also liked Yuma and Afro's connection in this. It's really the most important, it's really the most important connection in the whole series, and I really liked it. Yuma being this stubborn kid who doesn't want to listen at the start, but Afro doesn't really bother with him or his attitude until he caves in. And yeah, again, yeah, some of that got kind of repetitive after a bit, but I did still like this, and it does develop over time, and how we see that John is fun to watch as well. I also like how this connected to the previous shows, like that road he plays when we see statues of old Duomon series from the previous series, and I thought that was cool. I do kind of wish there were some other references as well, like maybe a reference to Yuji, Jaden, and Yusei would have been cool, especially since they did back in the other shows, but they didn't really want to do that. I do respect them for that, I suppose. And really, even though a lot of it is subjective, I did really love the experience of watching it. It's definitely a series I'd want to watch again, even though it does have some really stupid moments. It's just a series I'm really glad I got into, and it did have some really cool ideas, like the new ways that dual monsters is done, like with the dual gazers and all that, and all that is pretty cool. And I say my own personal opinion about this is mostly really positive. Even if people don't like this series, one thing I don't think anyone can deny is that it's really amazingly animated. Even though the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series is aimed for a younger audience, they still do a really amazing job with the animation. I don't expect them to be lazy about it at all, but I'm really happy they put in all this effort, and I think it really shows. Also, this series may have my favorite this series definitely has my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Opening ever. The first one, Take a Stand. I honestly love that opening and that song. I didn't like the second one, which I was actually surprised to see, considering the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise usually just has one song the whole time with different visuals every once in a while, but I honestly love that first opening of this. I do listen to it a lot, and so, yeah, guys, it's hard to say if I really recommend this. I did have a great time with this, but I don't know if it's something that would appeal to a lot of other people. But I personally say give it a shot and see what you think. If you don't like this, I won't get against that. But I still would check it out, and I'm still happy that I got into it myself. So yeah, so now we have finished this. This means the only other series next to do is Yu-Gi-Oh! Art 5. I'm pretty sure it's the last Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that was dubbed. I'm actually in the middle of watching it, and I'm trying to get season 3 on DVD from America, but I'm having a hard time finding it. But I'm really excited to keep going with it, and hopefully I'll be able to do a review for it whenever I finish it. So guys, that was my review of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all liked this video. If you did, then please like this video. Please comment down below to tell me what you think. Please follow me on Twitter at Random Maloney, Hey Haitian Disney fan, Roger Kingdom Hearts and Disney please every day, and please subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you on next time. Take care.